know, we had guests in our B&B, and their daughter's goal is to visit every national park in the United States. What a neat goal.
It's a neat goal, there's a lot of them.
That's a cool goal.
All right, I've got 11
That's
o'clock.
my
I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have roll call, please?
Clifton.
Here.
Fitch.
Here.
Stancil.
Here.
All present. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. First thing on the agenda is final punch list items. Rick shared, we want to walk through
Yeah,
what you
I can,
shared?
let me try to give us some structure here to this, and we'll go from there. And I'm assuming this has been distributed, but on the 9th, I distributed, excuse me, on September 5th, I distributed some information that really looked at the remaining items that we have, starting with the punch list, and then a series of steps that we use to reach final completion on the project. With that, I sent an update on the punch list and my observations on the final work for the sheet metal. On 8/26, I was on site to do a punch list. At that time, there were 4 remaining items left on the punch list. All other items I am closing. Those items were item 206, 208, 218, and 219. And they vary from filling nail holes to, they're all minor items, is what I would tell you. I also specifically noted in that email that there's an item on the punch list that I am considering closed, and we are moving it to a warranty issue. So this is probably a good opportunity for me to describe something that I've done for convenience, but now we need to describe 2 separate things. Punch list is prepared for those items that have not yet been complete and that we are working toward completion to get the project closed. There have been items on the punch list that I've included that have been closed at one point but reopened, and technically that's a warranty issue. I kept them on there for convenience just so we could track one list. So by separating those, there are 2 warranty issues that I would say are still outstanding, one of which is on the agenda, which is the porch coating. And the other, which I'm sure you're aware of, is the plant replacement that we need to address. But once these other 4 items that I've listed are closed, we can consider the project complete. Then that triggers the other things on the list that I forwarded on the 9th. So that takes care of sort of the update on the punch list.
Are the 2 sashes that are being replaced, does that fall under warranty?
Thank you. That's another warranty item, and Mitch has an update for us to address. Yes, thank you. That's the 3rd.
Okay. So going down the agenda, porch coating follow-up, you said it was a warranty issue. Do we need to discuss that?
Mitch, maybe you can give an update. I can offer to, well, let me offer this. There were a couple porches that we identified some cracking in some areas, depending on the type of, the condition of the weather. They were more obvious on some locations, some days, and others not. The installer contended that that was just the traffic coating, the topping, and not the underlayment. Since then, on my punch list, I reviewed those again. I think they need to be reviewed again. I'm also seeing about, I don't know, maybe a dozen areas in a couple locations that are little blisters that are forming on the steps where it just looks like some of that traffic coating is popped off. So I think you've informed them that they need to come take a look, and what's the status now?
They'll be here this week to look at it and review, and then give me a recommendation on what they see.
So will they patch it, replace it, what?
Depends on what he thinks the cause is or what it looks like.
If they patch it, it will show. If they replace it, then will they keep that amount of money?
I think we need to hear their determination on it. Before we found the blistering, they were contending that they would patch some areas, but you would see where those patches were. And frankly, we wanted some direction on whether you wanted to do that or whether you wanted a full traffic coating on the redone completely. which they contended was an additional cost. So depending on how they interpret the latest items that we've identified, that may change, but that's what their position was last we spoke.
We all know what that epoxy looked like before it was done, and it's not a permanent solution, so that traffic code probably needs to be replaced about every 5 years or something, is that?
Or patch.
Or patch,
yeah.
or a combination of both, or patch periodically and
Right.
But
retop.
this has only been done, this has only been down for not even a year.
Yeah, so, and that's fair. So I think we need to understand what their position is, but that's an item that's still outstanding and that we should consider a warranty item.
Yeah, my position probably will be, I don't want it patched. I mean, it's only a year. I think they need to replace it.
It shouldn't be doing that, especially if you found additional issues, it shouldn't be
I
doing.
understand that, but the warranty will patch. It doesn't fully replace. So if you, again, let's wait to see what they say, but if they come back and say, well, patch, great, they may come back and still say, if you want the full thing coated, we'll do it, but there's some additional dollars that they would expect. So let's wait to see how they come back and we can go from there.
But that's considered a warranty at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And plant warranty, when are those?
Oh, we would kind of have a request, could you do it before Covered Bridge Festival? Which is a perfect time right now.
It is
this fall.
good time.
Perfect
That's,
time.
remind me again on that.
Second weekend in October.
Yeah, and this is a perfect time to fall plant, so, it's cooler and nicer, but,
And
yeah,
do we
we
want
could
to
get them all.
just replace the plants, or do we actually want them to do landscape? Because right now, it's just plants, and they threw the mulch on top of grass, which is not the proper way to landscape.
I would get the project closed as you have it today and get the replacement done. And then you can decide whether you want to do additional things.
Yeah, but they should have probably done that before, while they.
Well, the reality of it is, there weren't supposed to be any bushes in that area.
Right,
and
that
there-
was all an
There were
additive.
too many plants to go up there,
Yeah,
so
that's
they got
true.
stuck down there.
It took them out.
It's like, here's your plants, what do you want to do with them?
So I think you were going to try to review and establish a number
Yeah.
with the county today of bushes that they want replaced, and then we can confirm whether they can be done.
Yeah, I'd like to look at them and just see
Oh, you'll
their
see.
count. Well, I mean, I can see them, but
I took pictures back
Some are-
in May, but I'm guessing
There's quite a few.
I don't know if there's any more or not.
There's more.
there were some that were dead and some that were starting to show signs.
Pretty much dead, on the way to dead, yeah.
Okay. So, once we identify those, can that get done before the second weekend in October?
yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
All right. I had a note here, this is really insignificant, but we've had those signs up there for years, so Chip, can we make those 4x8 signs go away? The construction signs that.
I think once it's wrapped up is when.
Well, we'll
I
take
think
them
it's
down
only
when
they
it's
can be
done.
taken down.
It kind of burns me every time I see it, because it says, thanks for your help, Jeffers Foundation, and
Yeah, I want
I don't
that.
think they did.
I think Brenda said though, until this is completely done.
Yeah,
they
she
have
said
to
we
stay
had to
up.
leave it
Alright.
out.
So if we wrap it up today, I'll call them in.
Well, let's take them down, we could take them down before Bridge Festival, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's take them down.
Or if you want me to take them down today, I'll take them down.
Well,
well, you know, to satisfy, I'm a little bothered by that too, we can always just cross that part out.
I thought I
agree.
put
Put some
a piece,
painter's tape and.
I
put it
thought
on-
I put a piece of tape over it.
It might have come off in the rain and
I
stuff.
think I did, I thought I covered it, but,
We're talking the two big signs out
Yeah.
by the ramp.
I don't care whenever you have time.
I'll do it right after this.
I think they can always use a chunk of plywood for something.
Yeah, save that for some.
All right. So what else do we need to cover today?
We can go through the observations that I sent on the sheet metal, and we should go through the final steps on the closeout, just so that we're all clear on those steps, so we can
Do we want to mention the other third warranty thing about the sashes? Where are we with that, replacing the sashes?
Yeah.
They'll be here next week,
The 16th, isn't it?
week of the 16th.
And are they gonna be pre-stained, or you guys gonna stain them here, or how is that gonna work?
Same one.
The sashes, the wood, because you're gonna need to paint the outside and you need to stain the inside, right?
We might be talking about two different guess I don't know what,
The woods, the window sashes. The ones that, because they couldn't, two of our window sashes couldn't lock, because they were not.
You probably need to
Oh.
bring her up to speed with
Yeah,
this.
so-
Yeah, you need to tell, yeah.
so, our guys looked at it and they said there's, a piece of trim on the top that, needs to be pushed up for that top sash to be pushed up
Oh.
further. So, it's not something we wanted to do, so that's, why our window vendor, Mole Millwork, is gonna come do it.
Okay,
They're gonna send somebody down, so.
okay, so we don't actually have to replace the
Well, I
sash,
hope
it's just
not.
It wasn't pushed up correctly, so it matched up.
okay, so that could, that might be much better than we have. So when will we know?
They'll be here next week, so.
Okay,
And I gave you the number for Chip, because he'll have to
Yeah.
unlock some doors for you, okay?
okay, so then we'll know whether or not that moves to, and if it's not that, then that moves to a warranty issue? Yes?
Yeah.
They determined it was that, correct?
Well, that's what our guys
Yeah,
thought,
they
Mole
were
Millwork
pushing.
hasn't looked at it.
They were here. Mobile, no.
Almost there.
Oh, they were here?
Oh, yeah, they were here.
When were they?
Last week when you
Oh.
had them find me. To, well, it's-
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Okay, so they indicated that the receivers were just the wrong ones. So they removed one receiver, put it on the other window. They've got the other receivers, you know what I mean, the latch receivers. So they just, so they're now, those two windows are locked and the other ones are on order. That's what they told us.
Hmm.
So I don't,
You mean
they,
the receiver for the lock?
Yes.
for the latch?
yeah,
They were
that's
wrong.
all it is.
What do you mean it's wrong? Oh, it was a too short a
It's too
receiver?
high, they're too thick,
So the spoon lock couldn't
would
go in
not go in there.
Oh, okay.
So it's much easier than,
oh,
cause so they actually, yeah, there was two different opinions and then when Mole Millwork came in.
okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I shared that with everybody, but
And then they did push the ones.
they got them locked, they
They
are
got 'em
locked
They are
now.
locked now, okay.
They are,
Okay.
and so what they did was, because you only need one lock, they just put the one lock, they moved the one that was locking just fine of the two,
Okay.
and moved it over there. That's what I was sitting here watching.
So then those two
Are on order,
on
the other.
order. So we
Mhm.
have, okay.
So yeah, that's
So
what
our
I know to
office
be true.
locks, and we're waiting for the judge's office, correct?
You took them to the judge's office?
That's my understanding too, we're just using the right hardware. to-
Yep, okay.
Okay, all right.
That's easy fix.
That is a much easier fix, because I don't use sashes. Okay.
All right, Rick.
You wanna go over the field report on the
Yeah,
closing of the
let's do
sheet metal, or you wanna do closure?
We can do sheet metal.
Okay. So, on 8/15, I did my final report on this. I was on site, I don't know, over a dozen times in July and August to get this done. And frankly, I thought For Sure had the right guy on site. I would tell you, I was very pleased they found a solution for your site work and getting the access up there, and it went reasonably well. I would say it went well. I only had one area that I had to have them rework it a second time, and I was satisfied with the way they worked on the building. The other thing I'll just mention to you is initially the reports and my expectations on what were to be done on the different facades for the building. The north and the south, I expected a full replacement on that horizontal cornice, which they did. But on the east and the west, on the inside trim corners, they did more than I would have initially expected. So they went further on the corrections to make them look as seamless as possible. So I was pretty pleased with all that. In the report, there's a bunch of text that notes specifically what was observed on the entire project. There still are minor conditions or dents and scrapes that are still present, similar to related to the existing building conditions. You're simply going to see fasteners on the existing building conditions. I just made a note that those things are still acceptable. As I did the observations, I tried to find, Heather, some photographs that were of the same areas that I was taking photographs of. Some of these, you should note, are as they are in progress, so it's before they've been primed or painted in some cases, but it shows the workmanship that they reworked as they went back through these. I will remind everybody that you've done a great job in marking up all the issues that you felt were necessary, Heather, but OPM does not agree with all the markups on your existing or previous photos. So while your photos in this report might indicate 3 areas, we corrected perhaps 1 or 2 of those, depending on the condition. I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. You may have questions for me or thoughts, but in general, I certainly thought they did a good job. And after my final inspection on the 15th, I deemed the remaining items on the punch list complete.
When the lift they brought in was nice too, because it did cause no damage to the best of my knowledge.
I already thanked him, but thank him again, Mitch, for fixing that air conditioner. They did that on their own
sure.
time, and they took that out and fabricated a tray. That was really nice of
Yeah,
them.
that was nice. Hopefully we won't have to solve the issue.
Hope so.
Okay, so when what does Closeout look like, right?
So this is probably a good email for you all just to hang on to, because I think it describes this well for you. We can go through this list. So on that September 5th email, one of the last things I did was walk through the closeout stuff. So the first thing that we've done already was substantial completion. That was issued on 10/10, and in that substantial completion, just as a reminder for everybody, the substantial completion established the date as 10/10. We established some specific dates for other things for site work. That date was deemed as 10/23. There were other items that were still not able to be determined all that time. One was the ramp slab. Since that time, you've worked through the bond, the warranty bond, and we've got an agreement on that. The decorative sheet metal we just talked about as well. That date then would be 8/15. And the door installation and hardware that was still remaining, and I think that date is January when they were first initially operational. And all of those dates will be defined in the final closeout documents you get, whether it's about your EPDM roof or your door closers or sheet metal or so on. So substantial completion, which started to identify those things, is done. The next thing that we're working on is the completion of the punch list. It sounds like there were 4 items, and we've got a couple of those things that are still outstanding. So I will review those last 4 items, and once that is complete, we will proceed on to the next component, which is there is a submission of closeout documents for the project. That will include operation and maintenance manuals. That will include things such as door operators, closers, the hydronic heating components, windows, and so on. Anything that there's an operation or a warranty on, we will start to address that. There will be warranties defined. That could be Bryholtz's warranty, which indicates the dates where all of those things start. There is the specific warranty on the ramp that will be itemized and included, and there are all the product warranties that we have on the individual specifications. Those, just so you understand what that means, is product warranties will include the EPDM, the traffic coating, the sheet waterproofing, the windows, the high performance coating on the windows, anything related to the hydronic heat or the mechanical pumping, the light fixtures, and trees and shrubs. So we'll have specific dates for warranty. All of those vary depending on the manufacturer's date, and then there's also a defective work warranty that is unique to the installer or Bryholtz for some special conditions. An example would be windows. The other things that are still required to be turned in then for the documents are an affidavit for payment of debts and claims, a contractor's affidavit for release of liens, the surety's consent for final payment, the final pay application comes to me. I've reviewed all of those things, they are in my hands now. All of those components are fine, so really what I am waiting on right now is, let's get the punch list complete, let's get these last items in for the closeout documents, and then I will send you a letter that says I recommend final closeout. I will send with that the pay application, you can sign it, pay Mitch, and we're good. That closes out your contract with Bryholz. So any questions on that?
Time frame, I guess, as much as anything, is that something
I think
that we could do
have
in 2 weeks
this-
at our next meeting?
I'd like to have it in your hands before Wednesday of next week.
That would allow us to consider it on the 24th.
So, so we'll have a meeting after our regular meeting.
No, it'll just be part of our regular meeting.
It'll be right, yeah, if we get it Wednesday,
You'll
we
just
can,
put
we
it
can
in
have it
there.
in the agenda.
Wednesday, the 18th, and it'll be on our regular agenda for the 24th for
Yeah.
consideration.
I will be gone after next Thursday for about 3 weeks. So that's why I'd like to get it in your hands, and if there's any questions, you can always call me, but I will not be in attendance at that meeting if you're choosing to do that.
So if we would approve that on the 24th, and then the final payment would be included in the October 8th claims run, is that right? We approve claims at our meetings.
So,
So we approve the closeout on the 24th of September, the final payment then would be in the October 8th claims run, is that?
You can do it. What I'm gonna send you is basically the recommendation. It's gonna have my signature on the pay application, it's gonna have all the other documentation with it.
Okay. So it
You
could be.
can choose
you
if
want the
you want to.
closeout on the 24th?
Yeah.
So it'll close out and then we would approve the claim on October 8th. Is that what you're
Or do
saying?
you
No,
want the claim the
The
same
claim would be
day?
submitted.
What's the claim, sorry?
So we
For
can pay it.
every time we pay a bill.
Okay,
it has to be
that's,
approved.
yeah, that would be fine, yeah.
So you want it the 24th, or do you want it the,
I'm gonna turn everything into you next week. Ideally, you can do it on the 24th.
all right.
Okay?
Send
So
it.
that would close out Bryhol's contract. I have one other thing for you. Our contract.
Yeah.
So we have not billed for 100% completion. I can't do that until we close the project out. We have approximately a little over $1,000 that we can still invoice to you. However, we do owe you a hardware credit for operators, panics, and key switch. That credit is $5,100 and change. What I would propose doing then is we would write, OPM would write you a check for $4,080 and we are closed.
Vote for me.
You could do that on the 24th, so we could note that. Okay,
Okay?
fine.
If you could make sure I get a copy of these emails so that I can prepare.
We'll have them
those.
send, let's send everything through Michelle.
Well, you can send it, yeah, whatever. I
I'll
just need to
send
write
all
the
3 of us and
resolutions.
just include her.
Yeah.
as well.
I'd be glad to send this to all of you. Okay, that's, I think, everything that I have for you today.
So is everything on the sheet metal done?
Yes.
It's all approved? Okay.
So
So-
that's full summary in that, in the field report.
So, and I appreciate that, and, you know, they did make some improvements, so, but you did mention that there are things that were not part of the original project. So, I had drone footage sent to me, which I've done screenshots, and, it would be very helpful to me if you can tell me when I show you things, that this is something that should have been done, or something that was never part of the project originally, that'd be very helpful.
Okay.
So, Michelle,
Go ahead, you
go
just
ahead.
wanna do this.
Would you want to expand the screen if that's possible?
That's the biggest,
Oh.
that's your whole picture.
Okay. So this particular corner, obviously the lower part is better than it was, but
Right.
that upper part, it still looks kind of messy.
So the part on the left of the corner is new, the part on the right that's sloped is existing. That's going to happen when you're bringing those two existing and new materials together.
Is that okay, everybody, that light?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So in the left hand there, there's a dent.
Yep, existing,
Okay.
existing.
Okay. So that looks
The
This.
bottom there, the horizontal is new. Anything that's sloped above that is existing.
Okay, so the bottom part though, that looks, there's a dent there and there, it's a bit messy down there.
Where are you talking about?
Where? All along the horizontal, all of that.
Well, that's
Yes.
existing, wasn't it?
No,
'Cause
I
I
think
know-
that's acceptable, Heather. I don't know what you're specifically seeing there. The horizontal portion of the roof that goes sort of back under the eave, that's sort of the left there,
Right.
that is new. Anything that is sloped above that point is existing.
So all of that, because I know, didn't you replace this, the flashing?
The
and
bottom piece is the
bottom
only piece that's been replaced.
Okay, so, but you still have to have the connection between the bottom piece and the top piece,
Right.
and that's what I'm looking at. You see that, it
Yep.
just looks very sloppy.
And that's true, because the existing has gaps in it. That is a sealant to seal that joint up. That is acceptable.
Okay. We can move on.
I'll keep going.
Okay, so this one looks like it has dents, and I don't know what that black part is. It's one of the dentals.
I don't know that I think that's objectionable. I would expect all of those to be perfect, Heather, but it's not something that I would say we need to go up and try to correct again. By the way, some of the things that are, you see the staining or something that may look like chipping or rusting, that is something also that I talk a little bit about in my report. Some of that stuff is bugs or bug droppings, or it's leftovers from wasps or whatever.
Okay.
The things that we thought were actually rusting in some of those areas that were on the west were areas that were able to be removed. I was cleaned, and I don't know what it is, to be honest. I have no idea what it is.
Okay.
But I don't know whether it's some kind of insect that's gotten up there or something and tried to nest or,
But the dented portion though.
yeah, I'm gonna accept that.
So you can expand it. So the lower portion here, it looks damaged.
Here.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's worth going up and trying to rework that, Heather.
Well, again, this is stuff that, I provided and it
No,
could
I
have,
understand.
it could have been
And
fixed.
I understand, but in that previous review, I identified the things that I told Forest Shore Roofing that I believed we needed to correct. It did not include this.
Expand, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is that the same? No, that's a different one.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, it looks like there's rivets that are exposed and a possible,
These three, yeah.
a possible dent on the bottom. Again, this is something that you didn't feel was.
Yep, that's not something I itemized previously, no.
Okay. So here, as you can see, it meets, and it's, there's a dent there, and there's some sloppy, and there's on the corner there, there, yeah. So is that not addressed, or was it, what it?
That is in acceptable condition. To the right of that would be new, to the left, and anything that's sloped or going up at a slope is existing. There are going to be issues like that.
So what did you say, the right was acceptable?
So what's around the corner that we can't see,
This guy
that's going to be
here.
horizontal, is new.
And that's acceptable, you said?
That joint is acceptable,
Okay.
yes.
If I'm not going fast enough, please.
That's okay, go and move on. So same thing here, as you can see, there's stuff in the corner there, there's stuff along the
All
seam.
existing, Heather.
That's all existing.
Yep.
And is there a reason why this was not addressed as part of this project?
Yeah, it was frankly scope and what you had available for funding. So we determined that what was sloped, in many cases, was not, excuse me, was not of a condition that it had to be replaced. There wasn't rusting through it. There was obviously some damage in some areas from repairs and what's happened over the years. But yeah, that was deemed outside scope and not something the county would afford.
Okay.
It all still got coated.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
By the way, it all still got coated with a high performance coating,
Okay.
just to get replaced.
So is this corner here, as you can see on the corner there, there's rivets, is that what part that was replaced?
Yes, and you will see, again, the left is gonna be new, and the right that's sloped is going to be existing. And yes, rivets are acceptable. And frankly, you can see rivets or flat rivets or screws all over the existing conditions that are on the sloped surfaces, as well as the lowest portion of decorative metal on all of the horizontal banding around the building, which is also existing. So all those things are acceptable.
Okay.
Are the rivets, is that kind of part of the character? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can say it is, and even the repairs are part of the character, but yeah.
It's down there. Okay, so this is something on one of the corners, it looks like they didn't meet up evenly from one side to the other. I like the fact that they did the wrapping, that looks very nice, but I'm disappointed that it did not.
Yeah, I would say that could have been heather, or better heather, and I did not notice that. But I don't know that it's worth going up and trying to rework that again.
Okay. Go on. All right, so this here, this.
Sorry.
That's okay,
Yeah.
no worries. So this is just an example, there's several instances of this where we have gapping, we have missing rivets, and, this is just one example, there's a couple instances that I found. So, is that acceptable?
It's less than ideal, but I've deemed that acceptable, yes.
no, water wouldn't get in there, would it?
No, none of these conditions are any concern about water pollution. They don't affect the weather tightness of the building.
Okay.
It's all decorative.
So this one here, you can see there's some denting, some shadowing.
Yep,
That was,
yep,
yeah, that was acceptable.
yep.
Okay.
Acceptable or existing?
No, that was acceptable there.
Okay, so here's another example for riveting, there's actual missing, there's holes, and there's actual missing rivets, as if they didn't complete it.
Yeah. I don't know where that is, Heather.
These are labeled, so.
Again, what I focused on was some very specific areas identified for foreshore roofing to correct, and they've done that work. There are other areas that frankly, I don't think the workmanship is completely up to par. I don't think it measures up to the original workmanship that was on the building, but I have deemed them acceptable. They're not, it's not possible to go back in and get this to be perfect, especially where you're bringing new and old materials together. So if there was not, if the other issues were not identified last year for foreshore roofing, I deemed them acceptable.
Okay, so here's another corner example. As you can see, there's the bottom part, and then it going all the way up to the top part. The top part's,
Yep.
this is one of the original corners I identified, so that's.
Yeah, and this is a
poorly
corner
done.
that I deemed was acceptable at that, for this particular location. So this was not something that was corrected to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, so, this one, we looked at this one earlier, but this one to the right, I'm sorry, Michelle, show towards the right, the corner here.
Sure.
Right there, as you can see, that's all new. And that's poorly done.
I think it was fine.
I think it's
And you
acceptable.
can't see that.
You're gonna see where things lap, you're gonna see
Yours
where
4
they use
inches away.
fasteners. I've deemed that acceptable, Heather.
Okay. Move on, please.
Move on.
Okay, so that's a better picture of that corner. As you can see, there's gaps on the top there. The folded all over part, I can't tell by the lighting if that was painted or not, but the actual fold on the bottom corner is fine. Oops.
Yeah, the fold will return around to the right side, so that's probably what you're seeing off to the right. Anything above a horizontal is existing. Again, that joint between the existing to new is gonna be different and similar in every location.
Because there's a gap there.
Right.
Okay. Is there a reason, I mean, that should.
It's just difficult to bring old and new materials together perfectly every time.
Okay, can you move on, please? Okay, so this is the, I wanted to give you an example of some of the patching, as you can see, there's several different, yeah, it's gonna be hard to get over. So these are just 3 examples, some are dented. Was that old or is that acceptable?
That's new and that was deemed acceptable.
Zoom out just a tiny bit.
Sure.
See, if you're not, I don't notice this like this.
Well, you're not
You're
standing
not
up there
6
looking at it.
inches,
You're-
well,
you're
I'm not 3 inches away, I mean,
Well,
and
the
it
question
won't
is,
compromise anything.
the question is, though, we spent money on it,
But it doesn't compromise anything. Is it perfect that you want perfect? No.
but did we?
Was it perfect in 1876?
Never.
No.
Well, none of us were alive then, so I can't speak to that.
Well, there wouldn't have been flying around there in a drone looking at it from 2 feet away either.
But-
Are you about done? Because I am.
Well, where are we on the pictures?
I don't have a.
This is
already
my only
approved it all.
opportunity to go over this, Phil, and I'd like the time to do that, please. So, okay, so here's another picture here, yeah. Is that existing? Okay.
I have to leave it new. I put a
Understood.
talk.
Oh, no, it's only
Well, we're gonna be done before noon, trust me. We're gonna be about 10 minutes.
So,
Okay.
okay, so here on the, right there in the corner,
All existing.
all existing, okay. Michelle, keep going, next
Sure.
one. Okay, so here, it looks like there is a gap on the bottom there, and then there's a gap up top.
All existing.
So that wasn't fixed? That corner there? Is
No,
that-
that's not in the scope of work, no. And by the way, I'll just offer, there were a couple of these conditions that were really bad. And For Sure Roofing fixed them while they were there. They were not identified as something specifically related to the horizontal.
So they just did it because they
So
saw.
these are some of the worst conditions that still remain, but there were others that were worse than this that they chose to fix because they didn't like the way they looked. It was not in the scope of work for them.
Okay. It was probably included in my pictures, my original pictures I sent you.
All
And I
that's
noticed some of
existing.
those were fixed, so. Okay, so this, I'm assuming, is existing? All
Everything
these
there is
dents-
existing,
All
yep.
these dents are existing. Okay, all right, Michelle, go on the next one, please. Okay, since that's angled, that's existing as well there in
Yep.
the corner,
Yep,
all that denting? Because I thought that was gonna be addressed, was it
no,
just?
that's not in the scope.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you can go on to the next one, please. Okay, so this one here, it's not necessarily, I mean, the top, I'm looking more at the bottom underneath there, that stuff in the corner. You can see that there's different colored caulking
I
and,
don't know where that is, and I don't know that I've seen that.
I don't know if that, put that right there in that picture.
Let me see if I can, I've got S Dental 4.
Yeah, south, it's on the south side. So, okay, if you wanna move on.
Sure.
Okay, so this one is, I think, this is one of the ones that you cleaned,
Okay?
and you determined that was,
We don't know what it is, we just know it came off.
Some
Okay.
Dental 5.
okay, all right, if you can move on.
You mean the,
Like a wasp did it or something.
Yeah, it didn't look like wasps, though. I couldn't understand what it was, and frankly, the paint manufacturer looked at it as well, and they didn't know what it was either.
Okay, so this one, it's gonna be hard to see, but I noticed there's certain spots where it wasn't painted. So you can see the zinc coated copper through. Is that gonna be an issue?
I have not ever seen that condition, and I don't know whether that's what this shows or not.
Okay.
I mean,
Is it
it looks like a shadow to me.
Okay, so this one here is underneath, as you can see, there's gaps over here, and then there's gaps over there on the
It's
left.
acceptable.
That's acceptable, okay. Move on. Okay, so this one here, there's two things. There's the gap on the right, and it looks like the corner is still off on the inside there.
So this one I had to redo a second time. If this is the southwest inside corner,
Yep.
that is not going to get any better. So for whatever reason, those eaves there
This
are
area
not
right
the
here.
same. They have reworked that twice now, and that's the best they could get it. I
Okay,
accepted it.
okay. All right, you can And the other part there is acceptable, those gaps there?
Yep.
Why is it the best they can get it? Just the conditions?
I don't know
and-
whether there's, the way he was describing it to me, it was that the eave on both of those faces as they met wasn't exactly the same.
So that could be due to this, if you went further, this is a separate picture further down. It looks like the metal working is off by about, I don't know, quarter of an inch? Half an
Yeah,
inch?
I don't know that that's a big issue, Heather. If I look at the existing metal, I can find conditions like that too.
All right, move on. Okay. So this one here, there appears to be gaps underneath, is that acceptable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right up here, there's holes there.
Yes.
And then the corners there look.
I don't think any of that's holes. I mean, there may be gaps or something that is a little bit wider joint than other areas. And again, it's difficult to get all that to come together, but on the existing metal, you will see similar conditions as well.
Okay. All right. Okay, so here's a part, here's a corner, it looks like over here on the
This, yeah,
Okay.
oh, sure.
Okay, so those are kind of, this is a more clear example, I think, of possible not being painted. Is that gonna be a problem if it's not painted?
I don't know that I can tell you what that is specifically from the photograph, Heather.
Okay.
Do you think it's not painted or it's a shadow or dirt?
It looks, it had it, well, in the video, it's a little more clear. It looks, it has a silver tone, so that's why I didn't think it was dirt.
Even if it's silver, would it compromise anything if it's a little bit?
Well, if
didn't
it's
get
silver,
painted?
there's not paint on it.
But it's not gonna,
If that's what it is, and frankly, it should be coated. Is it worth going back up to fix that? We could certainly do that. Is it going to compromise the profile? No.
Okay, so there won't, any kind of weather or anything like that?
Well, it's gonna perform a little better with the coating on it certainly, but that's the reason we use that material, that and copper, is it's resistant to that corrosion.
realistically, how much weather does that really get tucked up
I
under?
don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, you get water dripping off the bottom of it or something like that. And that, I mean, there are areas all over this building, Heather, where I wish the workmanship was better, but it is acceptable. This is one that I would tell you, it should have coating on it. You wanna go back up and fix it?
Okay, if you can move on.
Okay. That's,
That's another one there. Okay. This one here, just the right-hand side there, right here. So the gap there.
Yep.
It looks like it's missing some rivets. You don't feel that's an issue?
No, you're gonna find those gaps and frankly, similar conditions all over the existing.
Okay. And over here on the, as you can see there, the seam, the black part that follows the
Yeah.
metal.
That was that was an area of correction where there was a dent. That was the correction, rather than glop all that up with sealant. It's acceptable. I mean, is it the workmanship that we all hope for? Absolutely not.
Okay. Michelle.
this is southeast end.
Yeah, so that one is the corner there of the dental there. It looks
what
like
are we
it's-
looking at? Oh, up high,
Yeah.
I mean, up there.
Right there, yeah.
So it looks scraped or something.
Yeah. So again, same
Yep.
discussion item on that, okay. If you can move on, Michelle, please. Okay, so this corner here, not sure what's going on there, but it doesn't look the best.
Well, it has to be an
It's the west
existing,
end, is the west.
West, it's on the west side there.
Dental
So
one.
you have the curvature up there, it looks like there's a gap.
right?
Obviously, the corner up there on the roof line looks
Yeah, I
like
can't
that.
tell with the photograph, Heather, the area that will be around the corner on that upper area is gonna be existing. So anytime those existing and new materials are coming together, it's not gonna be ideal. I don't know what that is specifically showing me there, to be honest.
It looked like to me on the drone footage, it looked like the pieces had met and it was maybe they forgot to fold it over, or I don't know, but it looks like a gap.
So bottom line, industry standards, you're gonna approve it.
I've approved it. What's in my report is my final position on all the sheet metal.
Okay. Move on. All right, so there's a, looks like there's a dent there, and that's acceptable.
Yep,
Okay. All right, so here, same issue.
yep.
Okay, move on. Same issue. Okay, another one. So this one here is, yeah, it's kind of this whole corner, there's a hole there on the bottom, there's some messy turn here. It looks bad.
Yeah, that's an area that frankly, I wish the coding had been done better on right there. So again, if you want to go up and have it corrected, we can
Okay.
certainly look at that. I mean, a lot of this, I mean, we're trying to draw a very fine line between what's acceptable and isn't. I think.
I just need to understand when I see something, if
Right.
it's old work that was not part of scope,
Right.
if it was poor workmanship,
Right.
or if it actually is something that
Right.
needs to be addressed, because it could affect us negatively in the future.
So to give you maybe just the cliff notes there, if you want to be able to explain it to its constituent or anything. That area below the scrolls,
Mhm.
where there's a horizontal line, that area below that, right there, that separation right there is the difference between old and new.
Okay.
Anything below that is existing, anything that's the scroll on the horizontal is new. Any of the sloped areas on the pediment, any of those,
That's old.
all of that's existing,
Okay.
yes.
That's good, good to know. Okay, Michelle, can you move on? Okay, so this one here, they wrapped it around, but there's an angle there, so they didn't.
Yep, I wish it was better too. I accepted it.
Okay,
Okay,
on.
all right.
So this one here,
Yep,
it's dent.
same.
Okay, so, I think we already addressed this line already. I just wanted to point out it looked like there's some gaps there. Is that an issue, is there a chance of that?
None of those are gonna be our water issues for us.
Okay, all right.
Rick, what are, like I know drywall, what are industry standards? 4 feet, natural light walking. What is it here? I mean, if you
It's-
really want.
You're not able to do anything to that extent, Diane, or with that kind of a standard of accuracy.
So, I mean,
Because we're not
questions.
dealing with, flat profiles. I mean, these are all intricate and decorative, so there's not a standard I can.
So the
cite.
standard is they did the very best job.
Well, yeah, I mean, and some of that I tried to describe in my report last year when we were identifying the areas that I really thought they needed to correct and others that we were going to accept. It's difficult to bring old and new together.
I know.
And I will tell you, the craftsmen today, in some cases, are better than they were, and our methods are better than they were. And in some cases, our craftsmanship is worse.
Yeah, I agree.
So we don't have the same individuals and the same type of trades that are working today that we had back then.
So this one here, just to clarify, the sloping angle there is where I saw most of the problems. That's
That's all existing,
existing,
yes.
okay. All right, Michelle. Okay, now here, this particular corner, as you can see, when it hits that corner, when it goes up, that does
Here?
not look very good, yeah.
What do you
The
see?
lower part here, that lower part is folded over very nicely, but this particular center part with it looks messy.
Yep,
It looks bad.
Is that where they tried to put old and new together?
it's old and new, yep.
So they tried.
Okay. Okay, so this is an example of the patching here. That was acceptable?
Yep.
Okay, can you move on, please? Another one.
Okay.
Oop,
Oops, sorry.
that's okay. So there's a couple more here. That was acceptable.
Mhm.
All right. So this one is an example of, if you can see on the left there, it does not quite meet the corner.
Here,
Yeah,
Yep,
it's off.
So is that old and new?
no, both of those are new conditions, and that may be the condition that I actually had them reworked twice. So, we're not going to get that to be different than what we're seeing,
So you made,
better than what we're
you
seeing.
made
I
James did
accept
that
it.
twice?
Hmm?
James did that twice?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember getting an email about that, because you mentioned that in an email for Warner.
Right.
Okay, I think that, you can go ahead, I think there's only one more.
One more? I don't know, no.
No, is that it?
I think that's gonna be it, let me just take a quick peek. We were at, yep, that was it.
That was it, okay, all right.
All right, well,
Well, thank you for reviewing those for me.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
Rick, thanks for addressing some of those issues that were subpar. I feel a whole lot better about it now than
Well,
I
I
did
think we all do.
6 months ago or whatever that was.
Right.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, we'll
So
look
we're
forward to
gonna
getting
have
the email
everything
from
the
you
24th.
next week.
I will get it all in your hands as soon as I receive.
And make sure it says what everybody owes, so we
Yeah.
can have all that ready.
And I'll take care of the
And-
checks, a separate issue.
Yeah.
Mitch, you want to just double check with the window people, I just don't wanna paraphrase something that.
Yeah, that's fine,
Didn't mean, you
they
mean,
never
I
told me
just
they were here,
assumed,
so.
yeah, that they, sure, I just don't, make sure I got it right.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be helpful too, thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Diana, is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Heather. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need to sign anything?
Nope.
Okay, I
Now, you can initial, you know what, true story, though, yes, please do initial.
okay.
The agenda,
I do have one question for you. You know, technically, and this is maybe a question for all of you. The warranty and the closeout information, by specification, we can provide that to you in binders and paper. What we often see now is it's all provided electronically on a stick, and we forego any of the binders and paper. Do you have a
Can we have
preference?
both?
I'd like both.
I want both.
Okay.
At least one
Sure,
paper
sure.
copy, and then the rest can be electronic.
Okay.
Mostly we might not be using thumb drives in 40 years.
Well, that's true. Hopefully it ends up in.
And papers forever. I want both, if it's okay.